We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Panchakosha Viveka Prakaranam is chapter 3 of Panchadasi. We have finished 36 verses and we are in the end section of this chapter. We started the 37th verse last week, and what does this chapter teach us? This chapter teaches us that my nature, intrinsic nature, is awareness principle, consciousness principle, existence principle, pure bliss principle. So this is what it's teaching me. What is my experience? My experience is not this. My day-to-day experience is full of ups and downs because I'm interacting with the world. How to shift my attention from Jiva Bhava, which is the individual interacting with the world, to Brahma Bhava, which is my real nature. This is the tug of war which is going on throughout our life in the spiritual study. Upanishads tell me I am Brahman. I am of the nature of consciousness. My experience tells me I am this body born on so-and-so date and I am experiencing the world which is in front of me. And due to my interactions with the world, I get joy and sorrow, and I live a life of likes and dislikes throughout my life. I like this, I go after it. I don't like this, I go away from it. That is what is called as samsara. The end result of samsara is dukkha, pain. That is what Vidyaranya tells us. And knowing your nature is sukham. Therefore, we have to put a lot of effort to understand our own nature. Our nature is not something which we do not know. We are experiencing our nature. Nature means what? It is changeless. I am a conscious person. Nobody doubts that. But how to segregate consciousness from this body and mind is the biggest challenge. And Vidyaranya, throughout Panchadasi, in every chapter, he is only trying to teach us how to come out of our identification with the body and the mind. That is step one. Step two, how to abide in our nature as Brahman. Brahman is nothing it's nothing very difficult to understand. It is nothing, it is purely what it says is, it is my nature is awareness. And that knowing that nature, I can drop all sorrows from my life is the Vedantic teaching. Whether it is Bhagavad Gita, whether it is Upanishads, whether it is Panchadasi, this is the topic. Now, in this chapter, we have gone through the Taittiriya Upanishad methodology of Panchakoshas. For those who have done Taittiriya Upanishad, this will make a lot of sense to you. The best way to study Upanishads is if you can get hold of talks which are with Shankara Bhashya. It is a very long process, but that is the correct process. There are several talks available on Upanishads based on Shankaracharya's commentary. Well, many people give talks, and like I also will be talking on Mundak Upanishad. So there are thousands of lectures available like this in the YouTube. But the best is if you can get hold of a proper translation of a person who is teaching Bhashya. Because when you study the Bhashya, you will get a lot of insight which you will not get otherwise. Shankaracharya is a brilliant teacher. And Swami Vidyaranya himself has written another book. Hopefully, sometime we will take that book. It is called as Anubhuti Prakasha, which is a text reflecting on all the Upanishads. Anyway, those are all side topics. Let me get into what we were studying last week, which is verse number 37. In this verse, onwards, till the end of the chapter, is a very, very fine topic called as Maya Shakti. What is Maya? How does it affect all of us? How to realize this pure nature of ours in relationship with what we experience in life. See, that is where I told you is the challenge. In this 37th verse, we have seen a few pages of these verse last week. The essence of this verse is the definition of Brahman. What is the definition? Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. That is what is the definition of our real nature. And this is called as reality. Our nature is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Another word used is reality in English. Satyam means reality. Now, this pure consciousness, awareness, is expressing as in twofold ways in the world. One is Ishvara, another is Jiva. And both these are superimpositions on that pure awareness. Then we discuss the individual. We say it is avidya is the cause for this superimposition. And when we take the totality, we say Maya is the cause. Now, this is exactly what Vidyaranya wants to convey in this verse. In order to convey this, I have put together some areas where we should touch up so that we understand this, how this pure consciousness expresses as in twofold ways as Ishvara and Jiva. To understand this, we should note that these two are called as Upadhi. Jiva is an Upadhi of Brahman. Ishvara is Upadhi of Brahman. So there is one Paramarthika Vastu, which is called as Brahman, which is pure awareness. It is appearing as the waking state and as the dream state. The dream state is called as Pratibhasikam, which means projection of the mind. The waking state is called as Vyavaharikam, which is a transactional state where the sense organs and the sense objects are interacting. See, these are all small steps by step we should understand. To understand that pure consciousness, that is the sadhya, that is the goal. But to understand that, we have to go through this small steps. Step by step, if you go, you will be able to pick up and you will reach the destination and you will have a clarity in that destination. So waking and dream is nothing but it is due to agrahanam. Agrahana means I do not know myself, therefore I think the waking and dream is a reality. Waking is a Vyavaharika Satyam, dream is a Pratibhasika Satyam. Then, what is agrahanam and anyata grahanam? These are two technical words used in Mandukya Upanishad by Gaudapada Acharya. Agrahana means wheeling nature. You see, we know that Maya Shakti has got two powers. In Tattva Bodha, we have learned it. We should know that why I don't know myself as Brahman is because of this Shakti which is operating in the individual body. And that is ignorance. The Shakti is called as avidya, and that expresses as either wheeling or projection, vikshepa, avaranam or vikshepa. These are the two expressions of not knowing I am pure consciousness. So far, I hope you are getting along with me, because these are all the ways in which we have to understand that reality. I do not know something, therefore, it is called as covering. Agrahanam. Agrahanam means I don't understand, I don't know, I don't think Brahman is there, and I can't experience Brahman. I can't experience that consciousness. Therefore, what happens? Anyata grahanam. Anyata grahanam means I take something else to be my nature. And what is that? The panchakoshas, the body, the mind, I take it as my nature. So the two upadhis we have seen is Jiva and Ishvara. All this we covered last week. I'm just running through it so that you can recall what we did last week. The Jiva is called as micro upadhi or a Vyashti. And the Ishvara is called as macro, which is Samashti. So Vyashti and Samashti together, they are called as two upadhis. Now, what is the definition of a upadhi? This is where we stopped last week. And I said today we will cover this definition. It's a very important definition. It's a technical definition. Try to understand this so that you can understand the nature of consciousness. If you understand this upadhi as a term, technical term, it will go a long way in understanding Vedanta because it's a very important term. Upadhi and upahitam. What is upadhi? Upasamipe sthitva swiyan gunan anyatra adadati. This is the Sanskrit description or the definition of upadhi. Samipe means in proximity, near something. Swiyan gunan means seeing the gunas of something in something else. Anyatra adadati. If you see the picture below, the crystal is upahitam, on which there is attributes of the upadhi are projected. So there is a red flower, very easy to understand, which is called as upadhi. The crystal is the upahitam. The crystal by nature is what? Transparent. Intrinsically, it is transparent. But when I look it from the other side, what happens? It appears red. The crystal, it appears red. And does the redness really the nature of the crystal? No. It is only superimposed nature. So similarly, we have to understand that our body, mind, and the sense objects are upadhi. And what is the nature of Chaitanya? Chaitanya means what? Pure awareness, pure consciousness. That is what I am in my sleep state. Pure. There is nothing else apart from me in my sleep state. All of you can imagine this. There is no world, there is no body, but I am there or not? Yes. That is what is called as Chaitanya. When the waking state comes, the body and mind become a upadhi. They become a medium of transaction with the sense objects. Without this body and mind as upadhi, who am I? I am Chaitanya. I am called as the reality. But with the body and mind, how do I appear? I appear as a man, woman, young, old, sad, happy, knowledgeable, wise, ignorant. All is because of the upadhi. This, what I'm explaining to you, is very important. If you can get this, you have got Vedanta. Upadhi and upahitam. Clear understanding of these two terms is very important. So the reality, which we call it as Jiva, Ishvara, and Jagat, is nothing else but this pure awareness. The sphatikam, the crystal, it never truly gets the red color of the flower. You agree or not? Yes. Because all the time the crystal remains as crystal. So similarly, I, the awareness principle, I am never touched or affected by the three states of the mind, the five koshas, which is matter principle, the three bodies, which are again matter. Who am I? I am the spirit behind this whole creation. Brahman is never the Jiva, Ishvara or Jagat. But Chaitanyam plays three roles in the waking, dream and sleep. In the waking state, it plays the role of Jiva and Ishvara, and also in the dream state. In the sleep state, it drops the Jivatvam and Ishvaratvam and remains all alone. That is what I am saying is pure Chaitanya. So understand this fact. This is a fact. Like the sun never rises is a fact. Similarly, I am this pure consciousness, awareness is a fact revealed by the Upanishads, explained by Swami Vidyaranya. In this topic of Maya. So on one screen, the three states are appearing due to Maya Shakti. There is a power in this body, there is a power in the world. That power is like the magician's power. And it has got projecting ability and it has got wheeling capacity. So, but when we are rooted in our nature, which is pure existence, then we can see that we are only playing a role in the waking, dream, and sleep states. It's only a role play, and it is due to prarabdha karma. But all this play is happening where? It is happening in pure awareness, which is eternal, which is not affected by time. It is not affected by space, not affected by objects. You have to follow this line of reasoning which I'm going through. If you follow the line of reasoning, you will not miss the clarity. In your mind, it will be 100% clear what Vidyaranya is trying to convey in this 37th mantra. So, Upadhi Dvayam is Ishvaratvam and Jivatvam. And in the 10th chapter, Panchadasi itself, we have covered this before. We have seen that it is the same Brahman or the same consciousness which enters different upadhis. One upadhi is of devatas, and then it becomes worshipped. Everybody worships a devata. So consciousness in relation to higher level bodies in different higher lokas is the devata. Or consciousness expressing as a guru, Dakshinamurti Guru or any other Brahma Vidya Guru is one type of this consciousness. The second is the same consciousness is also being reflected in the jiva. The jiva is what? It thinks that the body and mind is real. Therefore, we are all sishyas. I'm trying to understand our nature as this pure consciousness. The same consciousness sits in the world as inert objects. There is a pure existence principle, and there is also the existence principle together with inert objects. like stone, like mountains. These are all inert objects. They are all made up of Panchabhutas. And lastly, the same Brahman exists as pure existence, consciousness, limitlessness. And that is called as Nirupadhi. When it comes with Upadhi, it is either a Devata, Jiva, or the Jagat. Without the Upadhis, the same consciousness is called as Nirupadhi or intrinsic nature. Bhagavad Gita has this beautiful verse in the 4th chapter where yajnas are described. Ultimately, Lord Krishna says, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. He says, all the yajnas which you do, ultimately it is done in the presence of Brahman. In the presence of pure awareness, every time I use Brahman, you should remember it means consciousness awareness. That is the easiest way to understand. Or existence, pure existence. So, all what we do in the yajna, we offer butter, we offer oil, we offer grains in the yajna. He says, Lord Krishna says everything is Brahman. Because ultimately everything goes back to Brahman only. So keeping in mind, I am the pure existence and doing all transactions is called as Jivan Mukti Bhavaha. There are some songs in the regional languages which say that everything in the world is I alone. Sarvam Brahmamayam. All traditional regional languages have got such meanings in their songs. Guru, Sishya, Jagat, Jiva, Ishvara are all upadhis. They are meant to reveal Brahman. Like the full moon is revealing the sun. Whenever you see the full moon, on a full moon day, the reflection of light in the moon, it is not the moon's light. The moon is reflecting the sun's light. So the moonlight is what? It is an upadhi. What is it upadhi for? What is the upahitam? Sunlight. So looking at the moonlight, I should, in my own understanding, think about the sunlight which is getting reflected. Similarly, when I'm going through this waking state, dream state, sleep state, even while experiencing the three states, our mind should go where? To the pure consciousness. Suppose I'm able to do that. Then what happens? I am called as Jivan Mukta. Dakshinamurti Stotram, beautiful dhyana slokam. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtiye Namaha. This Ishvara or the Guru, they are all the principles of the same pure consciousness. So this verse is mainly talking of this upadhi. A quick summary of what this 37th verse, because all these verses are very, very deep in their thought process. So I'll be doing some sort of summary again and again now because we are coming to the end of the chapter. So this particular verse is talking about Satyam Jnanam Anantam is the Vastu, is the reality. It is appearing as Jiva and Ishvara. Brahman, the pure consciousness, is the ultimate truth. But what is the Jiva Jagat Ishvara? It is the Mithya Prapancha. Mithya means what? It appears, but it is apparent. It is pratibhasikam, like dream. What is Desha Kala Vastu? They are also upadhis. Desha is place, time, and objects. These three constitute Jagat. And they do not limit Brahman. Limit Brahman means what? They do not affect this pure consciousness. Why they do not affect this consciousness? Because with reference to the consciousness, the Jiva Jagat Ishvara, the Vyavaharika Satyam, is of a lower order of reality. See, these are all principles which you should understand to understand that pure consciousness. The pure consciousness is Paramarthikam. Vyavaharikam, Paramarthikam. Like the dreamer and the waker. Dreamer is of a lower order. Waker is of a higher order. Brahman is the highest principle. Jiva Ishvara Upadhi does not create any variation. Variation means modification in awareness principle. It cannot dent the reality. See, that is the way I should take as my nature. Because when I know that this is my nature, I will stop identifying myself with as a body. And that leads to immortality. I remain as Satyam Jnanam Anantam, like the Spatika, which is pure all the time. Even when the red flower is there, the Spatika never changes its nature. It remains the crystal, ever-free crystal, clear crystal. With this knowledge of Upadhi, Aham Nirvikaram is clear. I do not change. I have no modifications as the awareness consciousness principle. As a worshipper, I am sitting in one place. As the worshipped, I am sitting in another place. Devatas, Ishvara, and Jiva, they are all located principles. But when it comes to Brahman, when it comes to the pure consciousness, it is locationless. In the next 6 verses, we are going to dwell a little bit more on this Upadhi principle. And then we are going to study what is ignorance which is the power which expresses in the waking state. I am ignorant about this pure awareness, which is my Paramarthika nature, which is Abheda. Abheda means there is no difference at all in that nature. There is no Sajatiya Bheda, Vijatiya Bheda, Swagata Bheda. There is nothing, because there is nothing else. See, we should understand my nature as pure awareness in which there is nothing else except itself. I am non-dual by nature. Swami Chinmayananda says, Nirgunam Nishchalam Nishta Sarase Sarati. In pure consciousness, if you are rooted, then you will have a purity in mind. And when you have an impure mind and study Vedanta, you will get only arrogance. Because I have studied so many subjects and I know Vedanta very clearly, that is all arrogance. But with a pure mind, you study Vedanta, what you develop is not arrogance, but you develop compassion, love, and ultimately you attain moksha. Vedanta should not be studied academically. Then we will remain in samsara. Vedanta should be studied as an experiential study. I must express myself as pure awareness. That, once I start doing that, that is what is called as moksha, liberating knowledge. We can only say I am Brahman, not I am Ishvara. Why is that? Because Brahman means it is oneness at the level of Lakshyartha. Jiva and Ishvara is Vachyartha. Vachyartha means Jiva is direct meaning of Jiva is what? It is a limited individual. What is the direct meaning of Ishvara? It is the totality which is expressing with Upadhi. But what is the real meaning? What is the indirect meaning of Jiva? Consciousness. What is the indirect meaning of Ishvara? Pure existence principle. So at the level of Lakshyartha, indirect, indicative meaning, there is oneness. For example, a necklace can never say I am a bangle, because that is at the Vyavaharika level, Vachyartha level. Necklace is different, bangle is different, ring is different. They can never say each one is one. But suppose a necklace, a ring, and a bangle, they drop their individual properties, then what they can say? They can all say they are all gold. Gold is what? Lakshyartha, indicative meaning. It is not an apparent meaning. Apparent meaning is that they are all different. But the intrinsic meaning is they are all one gold. Similarly, all of us are one consciousness principle. The aikyam, oneness, is only with reference to that pure consciousness. It is not with reference to the body or the mind. That is what is said in verse number 37. Now I am doing a quick revision of chapter 3 itself of Panchadasi. Why I am doing it is because I want to relate it to Taittiriya Upanishad and see how Panchadasi and Taittiriya Upanishad are very similar, at the same time slightly different. In both this, in Taittiriya Upanishad and in Panchadasi, the self is described as jnanam, consciousness, ananta, satyam. These are all in both the texts. This is what is taken as the self. But the starting point in Taittiriya Upanishad is, in Taittiriya Upanishad, they start with the sloka, Brahmavida apnoti param. And then they bring in the 5 koshas. Then they say, from this Brahman, the entire world of 5 elements have come. The whole Jagat has come, Jivas have come. And in Taittiriya Upanishad, it says this Samanya Ananda, Atma Ananda or Brahmananda is the center. And that sustains the entire creation. This is how Taittiriya Upanishad, the chapter 2, Brahmananda Valli, takes up the study of Panchakoshas. How does Panchadasi do? Panchadasi says that Brahman is in the cave of the individual. It doesn't talk about the whole totality. In Taittiriya Upanishad, it says it is the totality. Panchadasi goes deep and says it is in the cave of our own intellect. In the cave of the 5 koshas is this light of pure consciousness. And whoever knows this consciousness as the supreme, he gets liberated. These are the two verses which is quoted in Taittiriya Upanishad, how the Taittiriya Upanishad starts. I have taken these verses before. Brahma vida apnoti param tadesha muktam satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman. So, and then tasmade tasmad atmana akasha sambhutaha. The most important word in the second verse is atmanaha akasha sambhuta. From this Atma, the space is born. And then the rest of the things. From space, air is born. From air, fire, earth, water, all that comes later. So Brahman's definition is Satyam. Satyam means what? There is no sublation. World can be sublated. The waking state is not there in the dream state. So we can say this is Badaha, negated. But Brahman, the pure awareness, there is no Bada. There is no negation of the pure awareness consciousness. At no time can this pure awareness be non-existent. It is always as Satyam, Satyam, Satyam. Existing, 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 existing. So what is our nature? Satyam. When I know my nature is Satyam, will I get identified with the body which is Asat, which exists temporarily? No. Suppose I have understood that this is my real nature, I will drop the identification with my body. Jnanam means it is consciousness. Consciousness means aparoksham. Aparoksham means directly sakshat ikshate. My nature, which I can know all the time, is this awareness, consciousness, jnanam. This is what is called as jnanam. Jnanam normally means knowledge. In the world, there are two types of knowledge. One is knowledge about the subject, which is called as Brahma Jnanam, Atma Jnanam. That is what Upanishads are dealing with. The second knowledge is knowledge of the objects, which is called as Thula Vidya. Thula. That's a objective knowledge. That science and other sciences, they all deal with the objective knowledge. And what is the third definition of Anantam, of Brahman? This is Anantam. Anantam, always remember, limitlessness with reference to space, time, and objects. So if you understand the three words, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, in this chapter number 3 of Panchadasi, this is the focus. If you understand these three words, you have understood the whole chapter. Only consciousness can be aparoksham. Aparoksham means what? It is self-effulgent. Anything which is paroksham, aparoksham, I have explained to you before. Pratyaksham means seen by the senses. Paroksham means not seen by the senses. Aparoksham means directly seen by yourself, which is the subject. The subject is the substratum on which the entire world comes and goes. So, pratyaksham, paroksham, aparoksham, hope these three terms are also clear. If it is not clear, I can explain to you, you can ask. So, there is only one pure consciousness which is called as the self, which is aparoksham. There is no other aparoksha vastu except this pure awareness. Yes, sakshat aparokshat, directly known, without any medium, is this awareness. See, you are getting a lot of knowledge of this pure awareness when we go through these points. That is the objective of summarizing this chapter at this stage, when we are trying to get towards the end. I want each one of you to understand clearly, I am consciousness. I am awareness. I am not limited by space. I am not limited by time. I was existing. I am existing. I will be existing with the body or without the body. With the body in the waking state, without the body in the sleep state. I have the experience of consciousness. I have the experience of Brahman. Only thing is, I didn't know that that is my real nature. That ignorance is gone. Avidya is gone. Therefore, I will not project that I am the body. I am Mukta Purushaha. It's so easy. If you understand Vedanta clearly, that is what Vidyaranya specializes. He's a brilliant teacher. If you go to the other chapters, every chapter you go, this knowledge of the Upanishad, how it can become my knowledge, this teacher has done the best job. After Shankaracharya, Swami Vidyaranya, I consider as the brilliant teacher for Vedanta. And the best text which he has written is this Panchadasi. Every chapter can open up. See, normally when we study the Upanishads, we are able to pick up some knowledge, but then application of that knowledge and getting moksha is something which Swami Vidyaranya does. So first Brahman exists, then space comes up. First, I exist without the body and mind. I exist as pure Brahman. In that Brahman awareness, this whole world is rising and the whole world is resolving. Mayeva sakalam jatam, mai sarvam pratishtitam, mai sarvam layam yati, 19th verse of the Kaivalya Upanishad. Space cannot limit Brahman because space is an effect. It is an appearance. It is adhyasa. It is product. What is the cause? Cause is Brahman. Okay, this is another point we should remember. These are all technical things, but the more you understand the technical details of Vedanta, the more the subject matter becomes clearer and clearer. Rope can never limit a snake. In the rope snake example, the rope can never limit a snake because snake can't interact with the rope. There are two different levels of realities. Dreamer, waker, they don't have any corridor. There is no corridor connecting the waker and the dreamer. Similarly, there is no corridor which connects this pure awareness and the body-mind transactional world. So nothing in the world can limit consciousness. Space has beginning and end. Time is beginningless. There is no evolution of Kala Tattvam. These are all very fine topics which Vidyaranya has brought about in this chapter. We cannot say time is born. Therefore, Gurudev says, time is always called as second. It's always described in seconds, never first. Because time is a product. Space is created, evolved, but not time. What is time then? Time is the connection between consciousness and Maya. Whenever we have this Maya Shakti in play, and it is happening in consciousness only. When this Maya Shakti comes up, you get time. That is what is called as time. These are slightly abstract topics. If you don't understand, don't worry about it. Then the next topic I want to discuss is, what is the relationship? You try to understand three types of relationships. In technical language, it is called as Samyoga, Samavaya, and Adhisthana Sambandha. If I give you an example, it will become very clear. Suppose you say the book is on the table. What is the relationship between the book and the table? It is called as Samyoga. That means the book and the table can exist separately. In contact, they have a relationship. What is Samavaya Sambandha? Samavaya means, for example, a color of a shirt or a color of a sari. The red color or a blue color of a sari is, and the sari, the color and the sari, they have Samavaya Sambandha. It is not, it is pervading. The color pervades the entire cloth. What is the relationship between awareness and the world? Is it Samyoga Sambandha or Samavaya Sambandha? It is neither of them, but it is Adhisthana Sambandha. Adhisthana Adhyasa Sambandha. Superimposed and substratum. Can you give examples? Baker and dreamer. Baker is the substratum, dreamer is the superimposed. Sand and mirage water. Sand is the substratum. Mirage water is the superimposed. Rope is the substratum. Rope snake is the superimposed. So in all those cases, Brahman is the Adhisthana, is the substratum. The whole world is superimposed. Is it clear? See, when you take these, why do we say that it is something different than Samavaya? It is not that all the attributes of the world are pervading Brahman. Brahman can exist by itself. That is why it is called as Adhisthana. It is not like the color of the shirt, where the color and the shirt are one. Oneness is there. It is not like that type of oneness in the case of Brahman and the world. Nor is Brahman sitting or the world is sitting on Brahman, like the Samyoga example of a relationship. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, I am the Kala Tattvam. There it means that he is the Maya Tattva. In the 32nd verse, this is in the chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, he says, I am the Kala Tattvam. Because of Kala only, you can see changes happening in the world. Pure Brahman has no limitation of time because it is beyond time. Time is born in Brahman. It resolves in Brahman. Kala is apparent. It is not real. What is real? Awareness is real. Time is apparent. Then limitations we have discussed. The purpose of this chapter is to turn our attention from the relative realm to the absolute realm. Absolute realm means going beyond time space. What we need to do is we have to say that there is this awareness which is different than the world. Definition of Upadhi we have seen today. All this describes the same. Vyashti, Samashti and all we have seen. So the final conclusion of this verse, and so far what we have seen in chapter 3 is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. This principle pertains to the Jiva, it pertains to the Ishvara also. Between both of them, what is common is this principle of existence, consciousness, and limitlessness. And when you look at it, look at this aspect of the world or of the individual, you can always say that this Atma or Brahman is free from the Upadhi. That is the essence of the whole chapter, in fact. Next week, I will start this new verse. Today, we have tried to conclude the 37th verse. Next week, we will start with the 38th verse. These are all verses which will take time to understand because I'm covering the whole chapter together with these verses because these verses are telling us the nature of pure consciousness, which is a subtle topic. It takes time and we have to go slowly when we try to understand, especially the Maya Shakti. And in chapter 6 of Panchadasi, we will be studying this Maya Shakti in very big detail. How I am that pure consciousness is brilliantly brought out by Swami Vidyananda. Anyway, so next week, the 38th verse, which is a continuation of the Maya topic. What is this 38th verse? I'll just tell you what it contains, then next week we'll say. There is a power. Okay, let me just play this one.
Shaktirastyaishchit Shaktirastyaishwari Kachit Sarvavastu Niyamika Sarvavastu Niyamika Anandamayamaarambhya Anandamayamaarambhya Godha Sarveshu Vastushu Godha Sarveshu Vastushu.
This verse talks about the Lord, Ishvara. So whenever we look at the world, there is a controller and there is a controlled. Controller is called as Ishvara. Controlled is called as the world. And this Maya Shakti is a property of Ishvara. It controls everything. My body is controlled by Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti belongs to what? Ishvara. So never say there is no Lord, there is no God in the world, because our whole life is controlled by one common principle, which is that Ishvara. And that principle is Sarva Antaryami. In Mandukya Upanishad, the definition of Ishvara is Antaryami. Another name of Ishvara is Antaryami. Very beautiful word. Antaryami means the inner principle of everything in the world, which is this existence principle. And this is what makes it the Lord. Because everything in creation is existing. And this Maya Shakti reveals this entire world as an upadhi. We will study this verse in more detail next week. These are all, like I said, Maya topic is the most subtlest topic in Vedanta. Very subtle, very deep. And when you study this Maya topic, your mind will become extremely focused and concentrated, because it takes you deep within your own intellect. Okay? All right. With this, I will close today's talk on Panchadasi, chapter 3. Om. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Anybody has a question? Yeah, Shama, go ahead.
Yom Shekharji.
Yes, tell me.
So just first one or two questions just related to the meditation itself.
Yes.
Is it best to try and follow, like we've just done, the Nirvana Shatkam? So is it just to consistently over a week till you go to the next one, follow the same mantra?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just follow one mantra for one full week.
Okay.
Let it sink deep into your subconscious level.
Okay.
So 6 mantras are there. You can take 6 full weeks and let each mantra go deep into your subconscious. Again, revise the same 6 mantras again, you see. So these are 6 very powerful mantras. They are the best for meditation, Vedantic meditation. But one thing always remember that in the end, you should say, I am the Atma. I don't need anything else to know myself. Let that be the end portion of your meditation. Or every time you meditate, you say, I am not this, I am not this. Let it be a very clear methodology. Because that way you will go very deep into your subconscious level. Okay?
So 2 more questions related to this.
Yeah.
I've noticed that you have a very set way of exiting out of the meditation.
Correct.
So is that also to be really followed, you know, whether I am listening to your verse or not? You know, I mean, one can either just play the whole audio of the meditation and
Yes.
follow it that way.
Yes.
Or if I have just chanted that meditation myself and then follow the sequence. But the main this thing is that to exit out, we do Om again,
Yes.
and, you know,
I find
be
it very
aware.
useful to end the meditation with Om.
So a nice, clear method of how to do it.
Yes,
Exiting
that's
out.
correct. Yes, you end the meditation with chanting Om, stopping, chanting Om, stopping 3 times.
Okay. And then the last one question related to the meditation is, this should be done separately out of one's normal puja and meditation.
Absolutely, yes. This is Vedantic meditation. It has got nothing to do with your pujas. If you are doing puja, it will help you at the end of the puja do this meditation.
At the end of it.
At the end of puja, do this Vedantic meditation.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So that's that. And
they have a very big impact. The meditation technique which I'm teaching you here has got a very deep impact, and you will find that you are able to understand Vedanta very clearly.
Yeah.
You see, as you do this meditation, you will find that, oh, I'm very clear now. Vedanta is so simple. It is talking about my own self, you know. And then this becomes like this is what which will help you to develop nishtha, the firmness of knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. Then coming to the class itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is absolutely no doubt. You have said that over and over, and all of the Vedanta, all the Upanishads, they're saying the same thing, which is just take it, accept it as a gospel truth that the nature of the samsara is dukkha, okay?
Yes.
In contrast, my own real nature is sukha or ananda. Sukha is a small word, ananda.
Yes.
Satchidanand. Now, the question therefore is, and again, today you have explained about step 1 and step 2. The major force which is required is to actually get out of this power of Maya Shakti. You know, if I have to go into space, I have to escape the gravity of the earth, which to me is the samsara. You know? So if I have to take a space journey, I have to exit this. And that is a very powerful force. So what I am imagining that initially all this process is a very tough process, and we can see that it appears difficult. But once I manage to exit this Maya Shakti, it perhaps doesn't remain so hard later on.
Exactly, you're right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just, I'm imagining.
Yeah, it's a good comment, because the power of Maya Shakti, it reduces it becomes less and less. And that is what gives you the strength of the mind. You see, the strength of the mind grows and the power of Maya Shakti comes down.
Okay. Then I've just got, if you allow me to just say as to, you know, the power of the Maya Shakti is nothing but the power of your own ego, my own ego, the little self. You know?
Yes.
So what is interesting is as if you are facing your own ego. So this ego is talking to me, yeah? And it is saying, ego is crushed, groans and moans. It remonstrates, you cannot do this to me. Can you imagine? The ego is pleading to me.
Yes.
You cannot do this to me. I have served you, even though I transgressed my limits, caused havoc and ruins, blinded you to the divine light that you did not know. I am the devil incarnate, you know, so this is the ego speaking to me.
Correct.
I am the devil incarnate. You did not know that. I'm the devil incarnate who cannot stand God because I lose my power, you know.
Yes.
The ego loses its power, but I plead, you know, so the ego is pleading, let me stay in, you know, in your home, for I have served you. Even though I have harmed you, have mercy. Remember, I'm the one who showed you the might of the world of creation, you know? It's like the ego is saying, who else did show you the world? I showed you.
That's
Which,
correct, sir.
yeah, shows this might of the creation which your good Lord has created indeed. So the ego is saying he has created,
Yes.
but jealously he guards it to his devotees, you know? So he will guard, he will not let his devotees see the power and the might of the world, even although he's, and removes them from my domain, you know. So that is the nature of God, that the God wants to keep his devotees, you know, close to see the purest Satchit Ananda. He wants God wants us to enjoy, but the devil, obviously, the ego doesn't want you to do that. Think hard. Shall you not enjoy the world without my help? Yeah. So this is really that's just one little thing about how the problem of this Maya Shakti, and I know you will perhaps continue to talk about it. It's a very powerful thing, although I recognize it's my own ego, because the Maya Shakti is nothing else. Am I right in assuming it's my own ego?
No, Maya Shakti has got two powers. One is at the individual level, and the second is at the samashti level. So you're all talking about Maya Shakti at the individual level, you know? Which is the real cause of this is 50% of the problem. There is a Maya Shakti happening at the macro level.
Really?
Yes, Maya Shakti at the macro level is also cause of the problem of samsara. Now I have to go crossover. That is why I have to know the real nature of Ishvara. You see, Ishvara's real nature is not Maya. It is Brahman. So I have to know my own nature. I also have to know the nature of Ishvara. And then I can say, I am the one principle which is behind both of them.
Okay. So, and the last question, I promise this is the last question, that the final method, apart from the Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, which you are teaching us through these meditations, Vedantic meditations, which is wonderful. In the final realm, isn't it that unless this whole body mind is actually dissolved, so I am imagining there is no way unless there is a complete dissolution. It almost seems like my whole of my body and mind, it must die. You almost feel like sort of, you know, putting a little fire there and saying, finish. And then a new, you know, Shama will be born.
Still you're in ignorance. You see, the power of ignorance is throwing all these thoughts. So don't get too carried away with these. Let the knowledge go a little bit more deeper. When the knowledge really happens, these things will not bother you at all.
So there is a period you're accepting that there is a problem where it's almost like as if I'm living in a different, I mean, so far I've lived in an unreal world. I actually feel it. And it's a very painful thing to acknowledge that I've lived in such an unreal world. And I am now having to learn to walk, talk, and, you know, see the world all over again, you know, as if I'm really now.
The moment you cross over this Maya Shakti, the avidya part, this is a true blessing. It is something which all the doubts, all the projections in our mind will die.
So there is a painful period.
Yes, there is a painful period. That is what is the Nididhyasana period, where you have to drop the ego and then jump on to the awareness as Sakshi. It is a painful process because it is a growth. See, any growing, this is a spiritual growing.
Right.
So there will be some difficulties you will face. That is why Lord Krishna clearly says, Mama Maya Duratyaya. Crossing my Maya is the most difficult.
Okay.
But you know what? The best is, the beauty is through knowledge, this can be crossed easier.
Knowledge is that fire, yeah.
Yeah. Through knowledge, again and again, I repeat, just clear knowledge, clarity in Vedanta will give you the final benefit.
Yeah.
And it is very, very true. It is very, very true.
Yeah. Then there is just the last bit, which I said it's the last, which the last time I said, but no. You know, the other day you mentioned after the end of your Kevalya Upanishad, you mentioned about the Sri Rudram.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, I wanted if you would be very kind to send us on the WhatsApp. I could not actually find the one which you mentioned, the reference of the chanting, you know.
Yeah, I can send it to you. I can send it. It's very easy. It's
okay.
It's Sri Rudram. It's by Chilakera brothers. But maybe you have not heard of it before.
Yeah,
I will send it to you. Don't worry. It's okay.
Lovely. Thank you. The reason I said this, because I actually read about it and all of that, and I feel if there was one chanting which would be a totally 100% Vedantic, which is through the Desha, Kala, Shrishti, this thing, everything, you know, and really towards closest comes to the idea of dissolution of the jiva.
Yes.
You know? A complete 100%. I can't see what more can be done to additionally do to that. Yeah. I just theoretically read it.
I mean, listen to the Rudram first, and then you will find it takes about 20-25 minutes to listen to the whole Rudram.
But it's amazing. It's amazing.
I just want to understand, you know, I'm uncomfortable with the word with the Shamaji is using dissolution of the jiva.
I mean, she's putting in her own way.
No, but I'm just, but fundamentally, if as we are moving ahead, I also feel that this is no criticism, but I just feel that the choice of words are equally important because it's not the dissolution, the awareness. The whole concept is that when you are aware of that knowledge, what it does is when you remove the ignorance, what happens actually? I'm just trying to, so we need to be clear what happens actually.
Chapter 6 of Panchadasi, just wait for that.
We need to,
Chapter 6 of Panchadasi will give you a very clear-cut
answer to this. Okay,
so we need this question.
So we need to dwell and contemplate. That's one. And the other is the destruction of the ego.
Yes.
That also I feel very uncomfortable with because both these actually mean that, as a conscious being, I'm trying to do something destructive, you know. So I'm just trying to figure out that also I feel we need to be...
you see, what they normally say in higher texts is, they say falsification. They don't say destruction. They say badaha. You say, this ego can be falsified. This Maya can be falsified.
You know, Raman Maharishi said this also.
Through knowledge.
Sort of collapsing back into from where it has emerged.
Yes. So it is falsified. You say that, like how dream is falsified. You know, the moment you wake up in the morning, you say, my dream
is gone.
Is gone. So similarly, when you wake up to that pure awareness and you're able to abide in it. See, the main thing is abiding in that awareness. Then you can say in that awareness, ego is falsified.
Yes, I think that is I feel more comfortable.
Yeah, you see, these are all choice of words.
Yeah.
But
no, but
you know you can bring it to a proper understanding. You see, the main thing is understanding the awareness, the nature of awareness as self-effulgent. It doesn't need anything, and abiding in that nature, you will find a lot of benefits coming to you. Remembering it, abiding means.
I'll just like to explain, the word for dissolution, the reason why it just keeps coming back again and again.
Yeah.
It is almost like, if you're standing on the seashore, on a sandy seashore, and this is really what I have felt, that how many times since my childhood up till now, I have made so many sand castles, literally in terms of developing my own ideologies, my supreme values, to this, to that, So throughout the course, to how medicine became the worship of my life, to this, to that, So it's been continuously. But the fact remains that these are just my mind's creation as to what was the supreme value. In all of this, the highest supreme value has been left completely ignored. I mean, I won't say completely ignored, because that voice of the Antaryami is always there. It's always there. It is never, when we say I am, I'm basically saying I am, and I am that conscious self, So even if I salute to you, I am saying I am saluting. So I am there. So that way you never, not consciously, but unconsciously, you can never ignore that. And you do keep hearing the voice, but you kind of shut that voice away. And now, of course, that voice is so large, I just cannot, So this is what I'm saying. There is a bit of a painful period, and I have to study a little bit more about how do you go around this painful period.
This comes with the help of study. You see, this Panchadasi is a great, brilliant text to get rid of that voice inside you. Basically, it will teach you the power of ignorance, the power of avidya. See, we are talking today because of the power of this ignorance. Today, I am saying that consciousness, awareness, it is probably there, not probably there, it doesn't exist. You see, this is how Vidyaranya brings it about in chapter 6. He says that the power of ignorance is so strong, it makes you believe that this life is, what we are living is very, very real. And we have to know how to drop that power. The moment you know how to drop the power through knowledge, then all these questions, all these difficulties you are facing, it will become very easy to solve.
Because it dawns clarity in the mind.
Yes, because of the clarity. Again and again, Vidyaranya says, get clarity of Vedanta. Get clarity of Vedanta. Clarity, again and again. Study so that you get clarity. Meditate so that you get clarity. And through this technique only, you can be free.
So like what Ramana also says, that you go into silence. So silence. Yes. So silence will.
When he says silence, it means dwell on your nature. As Atma.
Through self-inquiry. He uses.
Through self-inquiry.
The moment you inquire, you realize that the ego has come itself from the Atma, and it dissolves in the Atma.
Yes.
This Adhyasa and Pratibhasika, these are two aspects that we talked about: superimposition in terms of the Brahman and the world.
Yes.
The rope and the snake.
Correct.
The moment you know that this is rope, the snake never existed.
Yes.
So that is Pratibhasika.
Yes.
So this is happening simultaneously.
Yes.
The moment you have knowledge, it just goes away. So from that perspective, in the physical world that I am, and as a Jivan Mukta, the moment I have the awareness, world still exists. So how is it working? This whole concept.
This is a very brilliant. There is a very brilliant question which is asked in chapter 6.
Okay, I think I have to read that.
Okay, the question there is a brilliant question. I will leave it with you. You can also think about it. The question is:
snake does not exist.
You say that Atma is self-effulgent.
Yes.
At the same time, you say there is ignorance.
Yes.
How can ignorance remain in a self-effulgent Atma?
Yes. Yes.
You say Atma is self-effulgent. It is always knowing I am, I am, I am. How come then you are also saying, I don't know the self doesn't exist? Who talks about consciousness? Nobody talks about consciousness in normal life. You're talking, that means everybody is affected by this ignorance. At the same time, you're saying that Atma is self-effulgent. It is consciousness. It is awareness. How come ignorance is also there in consciousness? Very beautifully, this question is answered by Swami Vidyaranya. I won't keep a suspense to that answer. Answer is, Atma allows ignorance to remain. Number one. Atma allows, it is magnanimous. It is magnanimous in nature of Atma to allow everything in the world to exist, including ignorance. Number two, remember, ignorance is property of the mind, not the property of Atma. Ignorance is felt only in the waking state. It is a problem of the mind. It is not the problem of Atma. Atma is ever self-effulgent, ever there, ever existent.
So my plea from the ego is, okay, be quiet for now.
Drop your identification with the mind. Then you are dropped ignorance.
Yeah.
There is no ignorance in Atma. You are only, because of ignorance only, you are thinking that this ignorance. But in Atma is ever free. It is always self-effulgent. Always it is there. Only thing is the body and mind is just coming and going, coming and going, appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing. This you will notice only when you are consciousness. Suppose you are taking yourself as the body and mind, you will never have this problem solved. Remaining as the ego I, as the body I, as the mind I, you can never come out of ignorance.
So that has to kind of just be there somehow in the background, And
it's very beautifully brought about in chapter 6, where the answer to this question of how both are there immediately Vidyaranya gives an answer. You are talking with reference to your mind, which has got the ignorance. Ignorance is not in Atma. Ignorance is only there in your mind. Therefore, the solution of samsara is vidya, which is knowledge.
And ignore the ego.
Yes, just ignore the ego and go back and own up the pure consciousness as your eternal self. Very brilliant analysis in chapter 6 of Panchadasi. And, I just thought it will help you to go a little bit further.
You've definitely helped me for the dilemma which I was facing with my ego, my war with the ego. It's been a bit of a war.
See, this Viveka you should have. This clarity is what Vidyaranya teaches us in Panchadasi. And it is amazing. The Viveka Shakti is amazing. You know, by discriminating the Atma and Anatma, which is a job of the intellect only.
So technically speaking, the ego is required for a day-to-day transactional purposes to allow you to know what you should be doing, what you should not be doing. Otherwise, you are left
for transactional purposes, you need your mind. Don't get away from your mind. Don't say that I am not the mind in transactions.
I almost wanted to, but that's fine.
No, don't make that mistake in the transactions. Never try to disown the mind. Don't do so. That is a mistake you're committing. It's a very grave mistake. Don't do that. Yeah,
okay,
Rohit,
thank you so much.
Yeah, Rohit, you had a question?
Yes, Shakti, but I'll let Preeti go first because
no, it's okay.
No, actually, this is in continuation to this discussion. So I will just quickly
Preeti,
want to ask. Yes. So as all these things that we have been discussing, and even the Nirvana Shatakam meditation that we just, so I mean, actually, in reality, there is no question of liberation then, because Atma is ever liberated, right?
Correct. You're right. There is no moksha for, if you come to the Atma level, you understand that you're always free, nitya muktaha. So the seeker, he says, that is what in the third verse it says very clearly of Nirvana Shatkam, it says, there is no moksha also for a jnani. There is no bandha also for a jnani because he has understood bandha and moksha belong to the mind. I am not the mind, I am the Atma. So as Atma, I am nitya muktaha. I am ever free. Bandha and moksha, jivan mukti and videha mukti is only from ajnani's angle, not from a jnani's angle. So good point, Preeti. You brought up a very relevant point, which is very correct. I'm glad you brought this point because you should not miss this point that bandha and moksha belongs to the mind. It does not belong to the Atma.
Right. So it's again upadhi then, right? It's again upadhi. Yeah.
You see, now once you understand the definition of upadhi very clearly, you can separate the Atma and Anatma. The entire Anatma consisting of 3 states, 5 koshas, 3 bodies is all upadhi. And all upadhi, you cannot, you need the upadhi to have knowledge of upahitam.
Yes.
Without the upadhi, you can never go, the pure consciousness, you will never have, there is no, I mean, it's not possible for knowledge to happen in pure consciousness because it is always there. But that is why upadhi is very important. Shankaracharya brings this out very beautifully in Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashyam. He says upadhi is extremely, like the moonlight is an upadhi. Ultimately, it is revealing what? It is revealing the sun. Similarly, the 5 koshas, that is why in Taittiriya Upanishad they say, Anandamaya kosha itself has got 2 parts. One is the Atma part, another is the Anatma part. Priya Moda and Pramoda is the Anatma part of Anandamaya kosha. Brahman is the Atma portion in the Anandamaya kosha. Anandamaya kosha has got both. All other 4 other koshas have got only Anatma portion. Anyway, that is a slightly more deeper aspect.
Yeah,
Rohit, you have a question.
Yes, Shakti. Mine is actually from the Kenopanishad that I was studying using your notes. In the 4th chapter, Shakti, the first 2 chapters are mostly the crux of the Upanishad. Is it And the third and fourth seems more like an illustration that the teacher goes on to narrate a fictional story of why you trying to meet somebody.
That's correct. Yes.
Is it okay to just...
Yeah. What's your question on this?
Is it okay to just study the first two parts and ditch the third and fourth?
Absolutely right. The first two chapters are the Upanishadic portion. The third and the fourth is the Upasana portion. So you can drop the Upasana portion, just study the Upanishadic portion where it says, it is the year of the year, it is the mind of the mind. That is the most important portion of Kena Upanishad. And this portion is beautiful for Vedantic meditation. It is whatever you learn, if you practice the upasana of that teaching, it will help you a lot. So you can drop. To answer your question, the fourth this thing is the same story happens in Chandogya Upanishad also. It comes in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also. It is only to reveal a point, that's all. In Kena Upanishad, there is a story where all the sense organs are trying to say that they are very powerful. And a yaksha comes and says, no, don't worry, you can't lift the five elements. Yeah, you see, the Vayu Devata will say, I can blow away the whole universe and the whole cosmos. But then the story says that you can't blow anything without pure consciousness. Without pure consciousness, the five elements do not even exist. That is the only relevance for that story. That's all. Is it clear?
Yes, it is. My follow-up question is something related to the Upasana that you mentioned. So in the second chapter, third verse, so the student comes back, you can tell, he tells the guru that he more or less understands what's the concept or what's being taught. And the teacher replies in verse 3 saying, this is that yasya matam tasya matam yasya na veda vedasa avidnyatam vidnyatam avidnyatam. So, and the translation roughly goes to, he understands it who comprehends it not, and he understands it not who feels he has comprehended it. It is the unknown to the master of true knowledge, but to the ignorant it is the known. I also kind of understand what the teacher is saying. My question is, for a student like whom the guru is talking to, what does Nididhyasnam look like for that? Because you know that they are not your average student. From the questions you can tell that they are advanced students. What is, if this question even makes sense, what does the Nididhyasnam, does it differ, or how does it work? Because they finished the Shravanam part, they already had the Mananam, and they came back with the question, a very high level question, with the guru also gave a high level answer. And then what does Nididhyasanam look like?
Yeah, see, in Nididhyasanam, what you do is, all the things which you have learned in Vedanta, you apply it in your own self. You see, this is an application exercise. Suppose you have learned in Kena Upanishad that Atma cannot be known. At the same time, it is known. So this is a paradox. You see, it is known because Atma's nature is consciousness. It is not known like an object, but it is known as the subject. So, in Nididhyasanam, what you should do, you should say Atma is not known as an object for the mind or for Sakshi. See, mind is the object for Sakshi. I have to drop the mind also to remain as Sakshi. So when I say that I know or I don't know, Atma, you are referring to the mind. Because it is the mind which can say, I know this object, I don't know this object. So, this is how you should do Nididhyasana. Dwelling on the topic which you have learned, apply it to yourself. And the best way to apply it is always remember, I am that pure awareness. In this awareness, now I am analyzing what has been taught to me. Is this correct or is it wrong? If it is wrong or correct, that is called as mananam. When I try to do, there is a slight difference between mananam and nididhyasana. When I am trying to clear the doubts about Atma, about the mind, about the body, then that is what is called as mananam. When I try to disown body as me, mind as me, ignorance is me, that is called as nididhyasana. Yeah, I disown those things and say, I am Atma. There is a difference between nididhyasanam and mananam. Shravanam is very easy. Just listen, 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 that you are not this, you are not this, you are not this, you are this. But I have to put that Shravanam into my own experience. Till I put Shravanam into my own experience, then only it will become aparoksha anubhuti. Directly, it will become sakshat anubhuti. That means I alone remain as the sakshi. I alone remain as the awareness. That happens only in nididhyasana. Because I have claimed consciousness is me. Again and again, you should say, I am the awareness, I am the awareness, I am that Brahman, I am that Brahman. You can use any, I am the Sakshi. The moment you keep saying that, what happens is this goes deep into your subconscious mind. And that's when that happens, all your doubts get completely gone. You know, all the vasanas, the tendencies you have had, ignorance about the world, ignorance about so many things in the life, everything goes away. A time comes when you are completely abiding in your consciousness as your real self. Till then, they say you continue nididhyasana. Once this happens, you can drop nididhyasana also. This he explains in the, we are going to see in the next chapter, chapter number 4, we are going to study this, where Vidyaranya will say that Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam also you can drop. This is called Shastriya Adhyasa. This is Adhyasa. You can drop this the moment you are able to abide in your real nature all the time. Actions will go on at the body level. Pashyan, Shrinvan, Jigran, all this will keep going normal. But only thing is, you are free. You are free. So now you understand the difference between Nididhyasana and Mananam and Shravanam. And yes. This is where that, you know, this particular topic of Nididhyasanam is explained very beautifully in chapter 8 of Chandogya Upanishad, where Lord, the Prajapati, I mean, you can refer to chapter 8 of Chandogya Upanishad. I think I had taken this when I was doing the Chandogya Upanishad. It's there in my Upanishad notes also, where for 24 years, Lord Prajapati tells the Devatas, you meditate on waking state as not the truth. 24 years, not 24 days or 24 months. And then he says, for 24 years, you meditate, that dream is not the real state. Another 24 years, sleep is not the state. Then he says, you come back to me. I will teach you Turiyam. Lastly, they say this, that the moment, because the mind is very, very full of vasanas, you know, it is very difficult to clear up that backlog of the pressure of the vasanas. But through knowledge, I'm telling you, the easiest method is study Panchadasi clearly. Especially the 6th chapter is amazing. You know, it is the deepest technical chapter of Panchadasi. 6th chapter of Panchadasi. Very, very deep. I mean, it's like I said in that, Vidyaranya says, I give you guarantee you will realize yourself. A teacher is telling a student, study this chapter, I give you a guarantee you will realize what is Atma. You will have no questions again. Because he goes very deep, goes deep in the ignorance. You know, he goes deep and says, what is this ignorance? How can you get rid of this ignorance?
He is a practical teacher.
Yeah, very practical.
Already, Shekhar, just to add, Rohit, what he's saying.
Yeah.
See, Nidhi Dhyasa, you can have the glimpses when you do meditation. With knowledge is when you are doing meditation, you are contemplating on the knowledge only. And at the end of that knowledge, with the purity of the mind, suddenly what happens is, for a few moments, there is always the Nidhi Dhyasa, it happens. When you're with, see, suddenly when the thoughts keep coming down, 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 down and all, for a fraction of a moment, you know, you have that. So that period we will be able to enhance if we do continuously this meditation. So along with that knowledge and that meditation when we do, then only we will be able to practically apply the knowledge.
Yeah, that's also true. What you're saying is true. Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah, that's a good point, Venkatesh. It's a good point you're saying about Nididhyasana. I agree with you.
Then you have the confidence in the clarity of knowledge. Because most of the time what happens is we are always with our Jiva stage only. Because what is happening is the reference point is very, very important. We are talking about one which is totally infinite, and where we are at a finite state. So from finite to infinite, there is certain barricade is there. And that barricade is nothing but ignorance. And that ignorance we can conquer only by a knowledge. So, but just by knowing by knowledge, it does not help actually. Say, for example, you learn everything about medical unless and until you practically do some operation on a doctor, a patient, you will not know. So the application is required. And that application, I will say, meditation is the best application of your application of knowledge. And so when you see yourself with the waking state itself, when the thoughts are gradually reducing, you just consider that you're on the right path. And even if the thoughts are coming many also, you think you are the right path because you could able to witness whatever is happening, you could able to witness. And that process, if you continue, it's only a matter of time, you will feel that Nididhyasa. So you should have that faith, not confidence and all. You should have faith. Yes, knowledge is so powerful. Yes, after reading medical, will you become a doctor? Yes, you will become doctor, but you have to pass in the exams also. So this meditation is something like if you do continuously and then you start applying this knowledge, you will find the glimpses of the clarity of knowledge. And if you do it continuously, I can tell you very confidently that you feel you are that consciousness.
You see, he's talking from personal experience point, which is good. I'm glad, Venkatesh, you're able to explain the journey of being a spiritual student,
Mr. Shekhar?
Yeah?
Jacqueline here. I just want to ask something. The word meditation is a very big word. For people who say meditation, they are supposed to sit down there and keep on breathing in and breathing out with certain mantra. But then there are people saying that for meditation, even you walk is a meditation. Even your daily life is a certain part of your meditation. So to me, I may be confused. Okay, in the past, you know, what is meditation? If you sit down there every morning, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, so to me, it's a very big words on meditation.
Yeah, you see, whenever we talk of meditation in Vedanta, we only talk about only one thing. Realizing that I am the Atma. That's all.
Yeah.
There is nothing else in meditation in which Vedanta talks about is I am the Atma, everything else is Anatma. I am the Atma, everything else is Anatma. Suppose you sit for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, this is enough. You don't need to have very long meditations of 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours and all that. It's not required.
So my question is the definition of meditation. The definition of meditation, do you have to sit physically and just quiet? Or can you stand and be quiet? And can you just look at the clouds and be quiet, you know? Because
no, see, there are different methods of meditation. Meditation, number one, you can look at the waves and do meditation. You can look at the clouds. You can look at the mountains. That is a different type of meditation. That is only to quieten your mind. It has got nothing to do with knowledge of Atma. So those are all good at the beginning stage. You see, you look at the clouds, you look at the waves, you look at, that's only to quieten your mind, quieten your mind, quieten your mind. But suppose you're doing yoga, you're doing pranayama, you can get that quietude very fast. You can get it super fast. You know, you don't need to go through that type of meditation to quieten your mind. And the most important thing is application of your knowledge. Whenever you talk about meditation, apply the knowledge, I am the Atma. If you don't apply the knowledge, it is not a meditation at all. You're just simply saying, okay, it's a relaxation, I had a good time, but that is not what the scriptures talk about meditation. When you see, I have taken 81 meditation sessions. You just go through some of these sessions, you'll know what is meditation and how.
I know the 80 meditation, but to me, meditation is a very big word. That's where I'm coming from. Even if I am talking to you right now, I'm asking myself, is it ego that is talking? And if it is ego that is talking, then it's ego. And I'm supposed not to ask you all this kind of question. I'm supposed to be Atma and be quiet and listen and go there, be there, you know? Okay, never mind. To me, I thought meditation is a very big word. Okay.
Just okay. I want to
here you need clarity here, Jacqueline. Atma is quietude. The one which is talking is your mind. The voice which is inside you is only the mind, which is the ego. Atma does not talk. It is pure, absolute silence.
Yes, that's where I'm coming from. When I talk, it's ego that is talking.
Yes, ego is talking. You differentiate, discriminate between Atma and that ego. In the light of Atma, the ego is talking. This should be your thought process when you are sitting in meditation and observing your mind.
In fact, I want to say, I see myself change a lot. And I attribute to what I have listened for this number of years from this particular scripture study.
Definitely you have changed. I can tell you for 100% with guarantee you have changed, because your rajas, that rajas nature, that rajasic nature of your mind has dropped tremendously.
Yeah.
And that is because of continuous listening of Vedanta.
Yes, totally agree. In fact, yeah, totally agree. Okay, now it's ego that is talking. Okay, appreciate.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. There is a question here from Lakshmi. She is still there. Lakshmi, do you have any? You want to elaborate on this? I would like you to ask this question next time when we start the Q&A, so that I can explain to you this particular question. Okay, I think this has been quite a long session. I'll close for today, and then we continue. This was a very beautiful session, Q&A session, and we'll continue next week. There's a lot of more learning in this chapter 3 itself. Yeah. Thank you, and good night.
Hari Om, Jai Guru.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Shri.
Thank you. Thank you, Shri.